So it's AFEX time. You're welcome to this time, which is for AFEX for the week ended the 5th of December 2022. Total turnover in value on the AFEX summary commodity exchange was 6.2 billion naira. That indicates a positive change of over 50% for that week ended. We have David Ukomadu, strategy and corporate finance analyst with AFEX, joining us from our Abuja studio to give us details of trading for the week ended. Hi, David. Good morning. So what are the details?
Good morning, Nini. Thank you for having me. So over the course of the trading week, we saw an increase in total turnover, as you rightfully said, by 50.13%, moving from just 4.12 billion to close the trading week at 6.2 billion naira. While the total volumes traded saw an increase also of about 41.28%, moving from 13 million contracts to close the week at 19 million contracts. The number of deals saw a decline of about 14.81%, moving from 278 deals to close the week at just over 222 deals. The ACI, which is the AFEX Commodities Index, saw an increase of about 1.42%, moving from 455.71 basis points to close the trading week at 462 basis points, while the AFEX Export Index, which is the AEI, saw an increase of about 1.73%, moving from 216.52 basis points to close the trading week at 255.87 basis points. Moving on to the volume of contracts traded on the exchange over the week, we saw an increase in the volumes for maize, moving from 5,118,805 contracts to close the week at 7,651,744 contracts, while paddy rice saw an increase, moving from 4,147,404 contracts to close the week at 7,977,419 contracts. Cocoa saw an increase also, moving from 4,577 contracts to close the week at 533,989 contracts. Sorghum saw an increase of about 20,778 contracts, close the week at 22,278 contracts. Moving on to price changes for the week, we saw an increase in the price of maize of about 12.82%, representing 28.41 naira, to close the week at 250.02 naira, while paddy rice saw an increase of about 19.04%, representing 6.54 naira, to close the week at 311.73 naira. Cocoa also saw an increase, a marginal increase of about 0.41%, representing 6.72 naira, to close the trading week at 1,642.59 naira, while soybean and cashew experienced a decline. All other commodities on the exchange remained unchanged. For more information on the commodities market, you can always check out our website at Africa Exchange and our social media handle at COMEX by AFEX.
All right, David, thank you so much for giving us the details of trading for the week ended. Now, let's move over to and talk about the quality of agricultural products in Nigeria. A lot of groups have termed it poor, and that's because of poor handling of agricultural products pre- and post-harvest period. We have issues like diseases and pests attacking crops, excessive use of pesticide, preservation purposes, and many losses occur before, even during harvesting operations. Too early harvesting causes problem, and too late also has caused a lot of losses. And we know at this time in the world, the quality of consumption of consumables cannot be joked with. Well, we have to speak to this. Ajay Abdul Kadir, the supply chain manager with AFEX, also joining us from our Abuja studio. Hi, Ajay. Good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good to have you. So what are some of the dangers of improper harvesting operations in the country?
Yeah, thank you. So one of the dangers of improper harvesting is that what we end up seeing is that when you harvest when you harvest as at the time when the harvest is not supposed to be done, quite a couple of things would happen. I would use maize as an example here. When you look at maize, for example, when you harvest it when the moisture content is still very high, it means that and you plan to store it immediately, it means that at that point that maize would still have, I mean, the moisture content of that maize will still be very high, and for the reason being that it is being high, it's going to cause a lot of problems for the farmer, because when the moisture content of your maize is high, it means that you cannot be able to sell it, at the international market, or just you hardly be able to sell such kind of mazes. And another thing is that revenue is being lost at this point. When you harvest too early, because of the damage that has been done on such kind of maize, maybe because of the increase in the aflatoxin in that maize. And you and I know that the presence of aflatoxin on maize is not fit for human consumption, not to talk of animals. So if you cannot, feed it on animals, and human being cannot feed on it, and then it means that it's as useless as nothing. The other danger is that when you harvest too early, it means that you're going to be, losing a part of those commodities. And you can imagine if you have maybe 20,000 farmers harvesting their commodities too early. For example, on an hectare of land, you're supposed to have about maybe 25 bags. And when you harvest too early and you store, at the end of the day, the number of bags that will be good, maybe in the next 2 months, maybe most likely will be dropped to maybe like 15. And at that point, when you go to the market to go and source for this commodity, but because you have a large number of these bags that has gone so bad, it means that the price of commodity will go very high.
So, I mean, there's no doubt there are emphasis on the quality of agricultural products for health reasons and even revenue, as you mentioned. But what should we do? What are some of the procedures that should be put in place for Nigeria to attain a high quality agricultural produce?
Okay, so for me, one of the first things that we need to do is to ensure that these farmers get quality inputs and get everything that they need at the planting season. The other thing is that these farmers also need to be trained and retrained, and not just training them alone. You need to monitor them. So it's not enough for you to just, give them this quality input. If they are not trained on how to, handle them properly and how to apply them properly, at the end of the day, it's still going to be a waste. So one of the things we have, we did in AFEX is that we ensure that even after providing these quality inputs to this farmer, we ensure that we follow up with them. Across the Federation, we have about 600 extension field officers that go into these farms. At least they visit each of the farms at least once in a week to ensure that these commodities that have been planted are doing very fine. So at the end of the day, you will notice that these commodities will come out very fine. Another thing that needs to be done is that we ensure that we invest so much in storage capacity, because it's not good enough that even when you have these commodities coming out very good, if you are not able to store them properly and apply the best agronomic practices on this maize, it's still going to be a waste at the end of the day. So for us in AFEX, we believe that if we are able to, get a lot of warehouses close to these farmers, and they are able to store their commodities, as against them storing them in their houses and, exposing them to rodents and all other kind of, pests, and making them not get value for their products. So if we're able to, handle this commodity very well, in such that we provide the necessary infrastructure that helps to be able to keep all of these commodities that are being produced, I'm sure that we'll be able to, compete with the international markets if these commodities are, well
Yeah,
kept
well, Aja,
and
you talked
handled.
about storage there. We've talked about storage on different fronts here in Nigeria, storage and preservation. And a lot of times it comes back to funding. So how can the system be improved? I'm talking about the storage system in the country, at least on an average.
Yeah, so if you look at the indices, this morning I was just going through one of the dailies, I think sometimes in 2020s, and it says that the federal government has about 33 silos around the country. You know that the best form of storage for grains, especially maize, is in the silo. Not much of these silos have been put in use, and getting to construct silo costs so much at the moment. So I would say that for AFEX we have tried our best, and we are still trying our best. At the moment, we have about 150 locations in Nigeria where we have all of our warehouses. And if you put this number together, it will sum up to about 600,000 metric ton 600,000 metric ton capacity altogether. And part of our projection is that we want to be able to have storage capacity up until 1 million tons. And we are not going to stop at that until we are able to achieve this. And once we achieve this, we will do more as well.
The AFEX seeing, when we talk about the structure, agricultural production for 2023, what's your forecast?
Well, the forecast is not really looking very good, and I'll give you reasons why I said so. The season we just finished now, if you look at the statistics, we had about 12 million tons of maize being produced the season we just finished, and that's because as at the beginning of the year, the prices of fertilizers were very low. They were as low as 12,000 naira per bag. But if you look at what is happening today, the prices of fertilizer had gone up more than 100%, up to 120%. So a bag of fertilizer, as I speak to you today, ranging from 24,000 naira to 25,000 naira. So the question is, how many farmers can afford to be able to, buy these fertilizers and apply this into their farms? And if you don't apply fertilizers into your farms, of course, I doubt if you're going to have a very good yield. So for us, we are looking at a decline coming in the coming year, 2023, that because these farmers do not may not be able to afford this fertilizer. But at AFEX, we are trying to see how we can lock in price with some of these input provider even within the year before it gets to next year, because there's still every likelihood that by next year, the prices of the commodity of fertilizer will still go higher than this. But as AFEX, it has always been in our plans to prepare early so as to mitigate against some of these risks that might likely happen in the subsequent year. And we will not stop at continue to helping this farmer. We will not stop to continue to helping Africa and helping Nigeria itself. So because part of our one of our motto is to help Africa feed itself and to also help Nigeria feed itself as well.
All right, Saja. Well, we can also pray that the war going on in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine stops, because that will obviously affect the price of fertilizer and might also be some good news for us. But thank you so much. Thank you for sharing with us what you're doing at AFEX. Saja Abdulkadir is the supply chain manager at AFEX.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.